The Young and the Restless Spoilers Shadows of Deceit, a tale of ambition, revenge, and betrayal. Summer was not the naive, innocent figure many assumed her to be. Beneath her charming smile and gentle exterior lay a burning ambition, a determination to reclaim Kyle, a man whose affection she believed was rightfully hers. Every glance he cast in her direction, every soft word exchanged, fueled her resolve to do whatever it took to win him back. But in this high-stakes game of love and power, one obstacle stood in her way: Claire. For Summer, Claire was more than just a rival for Kyle's heart, she was the embodiment of everything that threatened her carefully crafted plans. With a calculated mind and an iron will, Summer had dissected every facet of Claire's life. She was fully aware of the deep scars that marred Claire's past, scars that could be exploited to tip the scales in Summer's favor. The most devastating secret of all was the incident involving Jordan, a secret that Claire had tried desperately to bury. It was no secret now: Claire had poisoned Jordan, and his tragic death was a dark stain on her soul. In the corridors of power and influence, Victoria and her inner circle were determined to cover up the incident. Their motive was clear: protecting the family name and keeping the Newmans from facing public disgrace. They planned to shield Claire from the full force of the law, ensuring that she would never face the consequences of her actions. However, Summer had different plans. The cover-up, meticulously orchestrated by those in power, was the very thing she intended to shatter. By exposing the truth, Summer aimed to topple not only Claire but also the legacy of deceit that had allowed such cover-ups to persist. Amid this dangerous and intricate web of lies, Summer found herself at the center of conflicting affections. Harrison, a man whose loyalty and trust seemed unshakable, had thrown his support behind her, captivated by her enigmatic persona and unwavering determination. At the same time, Kyle's own feelings were beginning to stir, a sign that the scales of attraction were tipping in ways that could complicate an already volatile situation. His heart, torn between admiration for Summer's audacity and the magnetic pull of his own conscience, became the silent battleground where love and loyalty clashed. While Summer's ascent was gathering momentum, the lives of those around her were spiraling into chaos, especially Claire's. Once a picture of composed elegance, Claire now found herself ensnared in a labyrinth of guilt and despair. The weight of her misdeeds was crushing her spirit, leaving her with no choice but to seek solace in a series of grueling therapy sessions. Every session was a battle, forcing her to confront not only the memory of her crime but also the painful reality of the person she had become. With her reputation in tatters and her emotional strength waning, Claire's fight for redemption seemed nearly impossible. In the shadows, where truth and treachery danced in an uneasy embrace, Summer was not content to simply let events unfold. With the precision of a seasoned strategist, she arranged secret meetings with Chance, a man whose own sense of justice had begun to crack under the weight of accumulated betrayals. During these clandestine rendezvous, Summer provided Chance with damning evidence, material that had been hidden from him until now. Among the items she presented were a series of photographs, images that captured key moments of deception and guilt. These photographs were not just pictures, they were the linchpin of Summer's plan, the concrete evidence that would irrevocably alter the balance of power. Chance's reaction to the revelations was immediate and explosive. The truth, so carefully concealed by Victor and his cohorts, ignited a furious anger within him. For Chance, the deception was intolerable, a stark reminder of how far the powerful Newmans had gone in manipulating the truth for their own benefit. Consumed by indignation and a thirst for retribution, Chance vowed to bring down the entire Newman empire. His determination grew into a singular, all-consuming goal: to see every member of the family held accountable for their crimes, to drag them into the harsh light of justice and into the confines of a jail cell where no amount of wealth or influence could protect them. As the stakes grew ever higher, the drama unfolding in the labyrinthine corridors of power and passion became almost unbearable. Every character was drawn into a vortex of conflicting desires and moral dilemmas. Summer's pursuit of Kyle and her vendetta against Claire were not merely personal battles, they were emblematic of a larger war against corruption and deceit. In her eyes, every move was calculated, every sacrifice justified by the ultimate prize: the restoration of balance, even if it meant tearing down the foundations of the world she once knew. The unfolding saga was not simply about love or revenge, it was a complex tapestry of interwoven lives, where every secret threatened to shatter the delicate veneer of civility that held the powerful in check. Summer's actions, driven by a blend of raw passion and ruthless pragmatism, cast a long shadow over all who dared to stand in her way. Her journey was fraught with peril and moral ambiguity, a path that led her deeper into the heart of darkness with every step she took. Yet, even as she embraced the role of both avenger and seductress, there lingered an unspoken question: would her quest for retribution ultimately lead to redemption, or would it consume her entirely? For Claire, the world was collapsing around her. Each therapy session was a painful reminder of the irreversible mistakes of her past, a continuous confrontation with the guilt that had festered inside her. Every glance in the mirror, every echo of a memory, hammered home the reality of her actions. In a bid to salvage what little remained of her dignity, Claire sought solace in the fragments of hope that her healing might bring. But hope was a fragile thing in a world where trust was a rare commodity, and the very people who once offered support now seemed poised to betray her at any moment. The tension between the characters escalated into a crescendo of emotional turmoil and legal intrigue. As Chance prepared to launch his vendetta against the Newman family, the implications of Summer's secret alliance with him became all the more profound. The evidence she provided not only threatened to expose the truth about Jordan's death, but also to unravel the carefully constructed facade maintained by Victoria and her cohorts. The stage was set for a confrontation that would pit familial loyalty against the unyielding forces of justice. Victor and the rest of the Newmans, who had long operated under a cloud of invulnerability, now faced the very real possibility of their empire crumbling under the weight of their sins. In this tumultuous landscape, every character was forced to confront the consequences of their choices. Summer's mission was not a simple quest for love, it was an intricate dance of strategy and subterfuge, where every ally and enemy played a part in a drama that spanned the spectrum of human emotion. Her willingness to use the very secrets that haunted Claire to further her own ambitions revealed a side of her that was both compelling and terrifying. The lines between right and wrong blurred in the fire of passion and betrayal, leaving a trail of broken hearts and shattered lives in her wake. As the final pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, the impending showdown promised to be as explosive as it was inevitable. The lives of those entangled in this saga would never be the same, for the actions of one determined woman had set into motion a chain of events that would forever alter the course of their intertwined destinies. With each passing day, the tension grew, and the choices made by each character became more critical. In the end, the battle was not only for Kyle's love or Claire's redemption but for the soul of an entire legacy marred by deception, greed, and unbridled ambition. In the dark, labyrinthine corridors of power, where secrets whispered and alliances shifted like sand, Summer's quest stood as a testament to the lengths one would go to reclaim what they believed was rightfully theirs. And as the walls of deception began to crumble, the truth, raw, unforgiving, and unstoppable, threatened to rise and consume them all. The unraveling, betrayal, truth, and the breaking point. Kyle stood at the center of the storm, his mind racing as the walls of his carefully controlled world came crashing down. Claire, the woman he had once trusted, protected, and even admired, was now at the center of a scandal so dark, so insidious, that he could no longer ignore the truth. For weeks, he had fought against the doubts creeping into his mind, but now, the evidence was undeniable. Claire was not the person he had once believed her to be. The revelation that Claire had poisoned Jordan was a devastating blow. Kyle's initial instinct was to find a way to save her, to protect her from the onslaught that was coming. But how could he? How could he justify standing by her side when the truth painted her as something far more dangerous than he had ever imagined? The conflict raged inside him, tearing at the remnants of the love and loyalty he had once felt. And then, the realization struck him like a bolt of lightning: perhaps this was for the best. Perhaps this was the moment he needed to see Claire for who she truly was, to step back before he found himself too deeply entangled in a web of deception and destruction. It was painful, but it was necessary. Claire was no longer the innocent, damaged soul he had once thought she was. She was something else entirely. Something terrifying. A war within the Newmans as the truth rippled through the halls of the Newman Empire, an uncontainable rage ignited within Victoria and Victor. They had worked tirelessly to conceal Claire's secret, orchestrating a cover-up that should have ensured her protection. Now, that work had been undone, and the repercussions threatened to dismantle everything they had fought to preserve. Victoria clenched her fists, her sharp gaze scanning every possible suspect. Someone had betrayed them, someone had gone to great lengths to expose Claire's crime, and that person would suffer the consequences. Victor, ever the ruthless strategist, wasted no time in initiating a full-scale investigation. "We need to find out who did this," he said, his voice a low growl of authority. "And when we do, we will destroy them." The Newmans had survived countless scandals, but this one was different. This wasn't just about family reputation or corporate warfare, this was personal. This was about control, about dominance, about ensuring that no one dared to challenge them and walk away unscathed. The question that burned in their minds was simple: who had exposed Claire? The puppet master in the shadows. In the midst of the chaos, Summer stood in the background, her expression unreadable, her mind calculating every possible move. She had been waiting for this moment, orchestrating each step with precision and patience. Every secret meeting, every whispered word to chance, every carefully placed piece of evidence had led to this. And now, she watched as her plan unfolded beautifully. Kyle was turning against Claire. The Newmans were at war with an unseen enemy. And Summer? She remained the innocent, concerned bystander, playing her role to perfection. She had known from the beginning that the truth alone wouldn't be enough. She had needed to ensure that the fallout was unavoidable, that Claire wouldn't be able to talk her way out of it. That was why she had gone directly to Chance, feeding him undeniable evidence, images, and information that he had no choice but to act on. Chance, blinded by his sense of justice and his anger at being deceived, had done exactly what Summer had predicted. He had launched an investigation that the Newmans couldn't stop. And now, as Kyle struggled with his emotions and the Newmans scrambled to find the traitor in their midst, Summer smiled to herself. Because the best part? No one suspected her. Kyle's breaking point. Kyle couldn't escape the weight of the truth. The moment he had seen the evidence against Claire, something inside him had shifted permanently. The warmth he had once felt for her had cooled, replaced by unease and a deep, unsettling sense of betrayal. He couldn't bring himself to speak to her, couldn't look at her without feeling the weight of the revelations pressing down on his chest. Every memory of their time together now seemed tainted, distorted by the knowledge of what she had done. Had she ever truly been the person he thought she was? Or had she been playing him all along? The thought sent a shiver down his spine. But even as he wrestled with his emotions, Kyle knew one thing for certain: this was not over. The Newmans would not let this go unanswered. They would hunt down the person responsible for exposing Claire, and when they did, the consequences would be severe. And that terrified him. Because Kyle knew one undeniable truth: whoever had done this was in serious danger. The hunt begins. Victoria wasted no time in mobilizing her resources. She reached out to every contact, every ally, every connection that could help her uncover the source of the leak. No one betrayed the Newmans and walked away unscathed. Victor, in his relentless pursuit of control, had already put his own plans in motion. He knew that someone close to them had betrayed them, someone with access to information they shouldn't have had. And he had every intention of finding out who. Claire, still reeling from the fallout, could barely process what was happening. The world she had fought so hard to build was crumbling around her, and she was powerless to stop it. As Kyle watched the Newman family go into battle mode, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The truth had come to light, but the war was far from over. And as the hunt for the traitor intensified, Kyle couldn't help but ask himself one terrifying question: had he been fighting for the wrong side all along?